wrestling fans? My name is Brian Crazy, and you are watching the F and brand of wrestling and entertainment here on YouTube.com. I am back with my TNA Impact Wrestling review from April 5th, 2012. It was a great night on Impact. We started off the show with TNA's president, Dixie Carter, in the ring, and the former general manager of Impact, Sting. They are surrounded by all of the superstars and knockouts of Impact Wrestling. They are filling the ringside area to capacity. Out comes Hulk Hogan, the Immortal One, the new general manager of Impact Wrestling, and he says there's going to be a lot of change to Impact. He books a huge match at Lockdown Crimson versus Morgan. They will finally end that beef inside the steel cage. Lockdown is a phenomenal pay-per-view. I can't wait till it comes each year, where every match is contested inside the steel cage. We also see him create a huge knockouts match for a little bit later in the night. 6 of the top knockouts will go after the #1 contender spot. Then we see Robert Roode make his way to the ringside area with his personal security. Hogan does not like that Mr. Roode is late. Robert Roode says he only has one obligation, and that is to wrestle the #1 contender, James Storm, at Lockdown. Hulk Hogan thinks otherwise and books a huge match for later in the night. Robert Roode versus Mr. Anderson, the former World Heavyweight Champion. Then we go into our first match, Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy. We see Kurt Angle get himself intentionally counted out at the end of this match. Jeff Hardy ends up winning by countout. As Kurt Angle comes through the curtain, Hulk Hogan is applauding him and basically says, you know what? You escaped tonight, but you won't escape at Lockdown. You will face Jeff Hardy inside the steel cage. So we already have 2 huge matches for Lockdown confirmed tonight. Morgan versus Crimson, Hardy versus Angle, and this is to go alongside James Storm versus Robert Roode for the title. Then we go into the next segment. We see Ric Flair backstage, and he's on the phone with Eric Bischoff. Hulk Hogan wants Eric Bischoff to make his way to the Impact Wrestling Zone. He has some words for Mr. Bischoff. Then we see Bully Ray in the ring. He's cutting a promo and talks about Austin Aries. He wants to know why Aries would try going after a monster like him. This brings out Aries. These two men go back and forth until Austin Aries ends up receiving a very vicious powerbomb from Bully Ray. Bully Ray ends up taunting Aries to end the segment. Then we see Joseph Park, who is Abyss, backstage, but he is looking for his brother in the storyline. Joseph Park is trying to find out what has happened to the monster. We have not seen him since the Genesis pay-per-view. No one knows what's happened to the monster Abyss, and Joseph Park continues on his quest. Then we go into the #1 knockouts match I mentioned earlier. We see 6 of the top knockouts square off, and at the end of the day, Velvet Sky is successful. She is the #1 contender for Gail Kim's knockout title, and she will face her at the Lockdown pay-per-view inside a steel cage. Lockdown is sure shaping up as this night progresses. Then we see James Storm go against AJ Styles. James Storm wants to find one of the top talents to make sure he's ready for Lockdown. So he picks his good friend AJ Styles. AJ Styles brings it in a great match, but at the end of the day, James Storm ends up hitting the last call super kick, 1, 2, 3, but in a show of respect, he ends up shaking his hand, and AJ Styles actually ends up getting a beer and giving it to the Cowboy to end this segment. Then we see the returning Motor City Machine Guns go against Mexican America, the former tag team champions. Motor City Machine Guns were incredible tonight. These guys didn't look like they missed a step, not a beat off. They absolutely decimated and dominated. They are your winners. They cut a promo after the match. They want a shot at the TNA Knockout. Wow, I'm thinking of Eric Young for a second. They want a shot at the TNA Tag Team Championship. And speaking of Eric Young, earlier in the night, we saw absolutely the best promo or backstage segment I've seen in a long time. We've seen Eric Young backstage with 3 of his friends. They're all doing a fantasy baseball draft. This is his idea of a bachelor party. They've got candy. They've got non-alcoholic wine. And then in comes ODB. She gives the guys each a cigar, kicks them out, looks over at Eric Young's computer, says, hey, can we get some porno on here? Brings in a keg of beer. I mean, absolutely phenomenal promo. These guys just have such chemistry with one another. Eric Young just playing the clueless guy, and ODB just being herself to her fullest extent. She is such a great talent. I'm glad they brought her back to TNA just for these segments alone, not adding her in-ring. What she brings in the ring is absolutely phenomenal, but just these segments alone are phenomenal. I'm really enjoying it. Then we go into the main event. We go into Robert Roode versus Mr. Anderson, but before this, Hulk Hogan talks with Bischoff and makes a huge match. Team Bischoff versus Team Bischoff. Garrett Bischoff versus Eric Bischoff at Lockdown. The winner of this match will, if Garrett loses, Eric has to leave. If Eric wins, Garrett has to leave. One Bischoff is going home. And then we go into the main event, Robert Roode versus Ken Anderson. This is a pay-per-view quality match. And at the end, we see Robert Roode pick up the win after smashing the beer bottle over Ken Anderson's head. And the referee is completely oblivious, doesn't see the blood on his face, doesn't see the glass everywhere, but it's professional wrestling. I mean, I guess certain things are just looked over. 1, 2, 3. Robert Roode looks like he won the match until the Hulkster comes out and reverses his decision. Ken Anderson is the winner. He has a win over the World Heavyweight Champion. Will this happen at Lockdown? Will Roode lose the title to Storm? I sure hope so. Roode, sorry about your damn luck, as the Cowboy would say. Guys, thanks for checking out my Impact Wrestling review. I sure did enjoy the show, and I want to know your thoughts. Thanks for bearing with me. I know it's not as top-notch as usual, but I have had a crazy cold for the last few days. The weather here in Connecticut, 2 weeks ago, it was 80 degrees. It looks like we had early summer, and it's been 30 at night, freezing. So, guys, it's absolutely nuts. Thank you for bearing with me. Please drop your comments below. Please also check out the official website of the Effin' Brand at www.fightnationwrestling.com, and check out all the channels that make up the Effin' Brand of wrestling and entertainment here on YouTube.com, my new channel, Fight Nation Wrestling, Effin' True Wrestling, Effin' True Entertainment, and the Effin' True Click. And before I close this out, a special thank you to all the new subscribers and all our current subscribers, and even the guys out there that don't have YouTube channels that watched our videos this past week. You made WrestleMania weekend an incredible success, and let's continue on that trend. I want to hear from you guys. Drop your thoughts below. I was up to 3 in the morning WrestleMania night answering comments and questions from you guys, and it was absolutely one of the most enjoyable things I've done in recent memory. I love the interaction. I love what I've been able to do here, and let's keep this trend going. Thank you for being loyal fans and subscribers. Thank you for watching this video, and biggest thing, thanks for bearing with my voice. Have a great day, and I will catch you later.